Let me ask you this. Do you ever think about your future self, or are you just thinking about how to survive or hopefully thrive right now with your circumstances and what's going on? Hi, I'm Barbara Drtina with Wellness Matters, You Matter. And I'm reading this great book for the second time. I have so much of it underlined and tagged because it is really gets you thinking. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy is a pretty remarkable. I mean, look, pages folded, highlighted. I mean, I can't underline every single line, but I can only read a little at a time because I have to digest and keep things in. And I'm rereading it as my future self because I read it a few years ago, and we are never the same person a few years down the line. Everything that you do today has a consequence. You're either growing and be and investing in your future self. And I work a lot with health. My main business is in the health arena. Wellness matters, you matter. I talk about physical attributes and represent products that activate the pathways of your body, plant-based. And I learned that our emotional well-being and our mental well-being play a huge role in our physicality of our body. So we need to look at the full body, the full spectrum. We're not just our body. And actually, our mind, our essence of ourself, think of all the things that are involuntary in your body. You don't have to think to breathe. You have to think to have your heart beating. All those processes to be able to see are all working. And so your mind and your thoughts play a huge role in your daily life and how you are. And one thing that happened to me, I'm in my early 70s. I hit the sevens. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I'm grateful. I've lost a lot of friends in their 60s. All of my really close dear friends that I've known throughout my life are all gone actually between cancer and heart issues. And I've lost all of those long-term friendships that saw me through very hard times and understand big parts of my life. And that's been a big loss for me. But I started to realize it even in my 60s and maybe even after turning the double nickels, that when I talk to other people and finding new friends, and we often say it's hard finding new friends at this age, and I'm a single person. So, if you're meeting people in couples, it's different. Um, but I found that so many people thought they had life figured out. I already did that. I know that. This is how I do it. This is how we do it. And they're like stuck in this sameness of mediocrity, or they think that they've got like figured out. But that you can't base the future on the past. The past was the past, but there are very different circumstances. I don't know why my hand raised up there. I didn't touch anything. So I'm going to lower it. Anyway, maybe when you put your hand up, it reads it. Um, is that really you need to be living into your future self? So I think when I was 60, I didn't think of necessarily living into my 70. Who will I be then? And look at the things that have happened. We've had a pandemic, we've had political unrest, and those things and values or the people you might gravitate towards or the way you might look at things changes. And I'm grateful for the past because I can look at it with different lenses and a different perspective. I lived through the Cold War. I know what that's about. That was a very significant part of my life, one being Polish and having relatives in Poland, and also growing up in Miami with Cuba right there, and Castro and Khrushchev. And my maiden name was Khrushchevsky. So as a child going to school, I got made fun of. People, the water table in South Florida is not very deep, but people had bomb shelters. They had bomb shelters in their backyards. So this was a constant stressor and anxiety inducer. So seeing the war on Ukraine and Russia, that's meaningful to me. To a young person, this could be a very new perspective. But if you are looking towards yourself in 3 to 4 years, or we set goals, or you might have ideas that you want to do to retire, or I want to go travel, or I want to buy an RV so my wife and I can go and have an adventure. So those are future things. But even more so than that is your daily habits and your daily disciplines, even. Am I being careful about being healthy going forward? Am I looking at what's happened to our food sources? They weren't, I'm so grateful the period I have lived. And I'm grateful to my mother for not having a lot of prepackaged prepared food. We had very basic food. We didn't have like a lot of gourmet food, but we had, a meat, a starch, and a vegetable, and very few things came out of a can. We had Jello. So I was Jello for dessert. But also, when you look back at those products, I don't know if you've been seeing them on Facebook, but people will say, "Well, I ate this in my youth, Gatorade, then Gatorade now, ketchup then, ketchup now." And if you look at the list of ingredients, they're vastly different. So we are in different times. So I'm so glad I had better water than we have today, and had different healthy vegetables. The soils are depleted. The nutrition value in our produce is not the same as it was, etc. So thinking today and making decisions for your future self. So I can see a huge difference in the people that I interact with. And I'm in a 55 community. And so I see the people that are walking every day, that are conscious of what they're eating, that are maybe putting in a fasting lifestyle. The body doesn't need as much to eat every day, that are outside, that are getting sunlight. And then I see the people that are very sedentary, that are unaware, just feel like they're getting older, or maybe a doctor or health professional has labeled them. You are this, you have that. And they don't understand that they can reverse that, or that they have the power within themselves to own their health, to be proactive in their health, to change lifestyle habits. I know my mother feels and has felt that we were born with certain genes and we were set, but only 20% of our genes actually dictate our DNA. Our lifestyle choices are 80% of our health. So you have a choice about your lifestyle changes and your environment, and that is in your hands. And we're, I think my generation and the older generation, which I was trying to tap into because I have products that can help them, or I want to talk to them about lifestyle. But that mentality was, you go to the doctor and they tell you what to do, and that's what you're supposed to do. And I think, you know what? That's like having your car mentality. I just take my car to the mechanic. If you're not a handy person, I take it to the car wash. I don't even touch my car and wash my car or clean my car anymore. And so people have that mentality of taking their body to the doctor, except that with our cars, we take care of preventative maintenance. We don't wait until the tire blows before we get new tires, or before our engine runs out of oil so that we destroy our engine. But we do that with our body. In our country, we don't have this prevention mentality, orientation, but it is changing, because you can fix the cells, and you have to fix the cells to be well. Fix the cell to be well. It all comes down to healthy cells, and our cells are always replicating. So, you think of copies on a copy machine, they get worse and worse and worse. But then if you go back to the original, or if you go back to two copies, that's a better copy than that, making it from the last one. And that's what we can do with our cells, even if we're not being able to go immediately back to the original cells when you were a baby. You can be going backwards by improving things in your body. So it's copying a healthier cell, and then you can improve that cell, and it'll copy a healthier cell. Those things are really, really important. So I'm creating that awareness for you today. So think of things into your future self. Do you want to still be able to walk or be on a walker? Then you need to walk. You need to move your body. That's a huge part of lifestyle and being healthy. But so much is about attitude, being open. Look at all the changes. Things are changing so rapidly. It's hard to keep up. I remember that my siblings and I think this was in the 80s, my dad owned a global business, and I'm so proud of him for that. And so, computers had come in, and it was like, okay, let's get dad a computer. And I remember that he never really embraced it. It was like, people our age, we don't use computers. Well, think about what has evolved. I mean, I don't meet, and 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds sometimes know more on their phone than and utilize them more than I do. So you having that mentality, it made me sad, not willing to learn something else, not willing to see that everything was changing that way. Then you have to rely on somebody else for their information or for them to do it for you. And I'm going to digress, but this is a fun memory. There's a picture of my dad back there, and he lived to 93. He never thought he would ever have that longevity because his dad died when he was 13. Mortality was a lot um, more prevalent. People work really hard, and it took a toll on their body. Um, but anyway, I remember as a child, I had to interview my dad. What was the biggest invention so far that came into your life? And he had an aviation business. So from a young boy, aviation and airplanes were just phenomenal. So we know how that progressed. But he said the fax machine that you could just, because he had a global business. And I remember having to wait for the teleprompter. He'd come in the morning and there'd be all these tele messages that came off this certain printer that were from India and from Europe and South America, places that he did extensive business. And you have to read the teleprompter. And of course, the time zone is totally different. But he could just, for him just to be able to fax something and somebody fax something right back. It was like, the fax machine. Now we're not even using fax machines. It's just crazy. I mean, whoever thought to have a mini computer as your cell phone? But it's an attitude. It's like stay open, stay aware, live into your future self. Maybe nobody knows how long you have, but when you are living with excitement, and even Einstein said it's not knowledge. So I know these people living from knowledge that something's going to repeat itself, but it may not. You can use that knowledge to step into something different and keep you being discerning in your decisions, but open to what the possibilities are. But he said that imagination is more important than knowledge. We know that curiosity keep you young and sharp. And we all have to really be careful about dementia. It is rapidly growing, and that comes down to even the soft tissues of your brain. We need fats. We need to keep our body healthy in many other areas. And our doctors really didn't always learn that. So the mitochondria of your cell, which is the energy factory, it's like the catalyst of each cell, is really important. And they start to dysfunction, aging, and then they're replicating damaged cells, right? So all that we have more mitochondria in our brain and our heart than other areas of the body because those two systems are just running so nonstop and consume so much of our energy. And then the cells, so to get damaged cells out of mitochondria out of there, to keep healthy mitochondria and to replace mitochondria, those are really, really important things. So you want to look at your future self because it impacts your family too. So many people that I talk to say, I don't want to live longer, or if I get this, I don't want to be a burden to my family. That's a huge thing. And the numbers in our country compared to other countries around the world with Alzheimer's and dementia are huge. So look at your future self. Do what you do today pays into your future self because we don't know who we're going to be at that time. I am not the same person that I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And so I want to impress upon you, be your future self now. And the now is because what you're doing now either invests in yourself or it poisons yourself. Something to think about, right? I'd love your comments. So put them down in the comments section. Thank you so much for listening and reach out to me if you want more information.